Bagwell never used this term. Bury me in the H. But Jeff Bagwell is a longtime Astro, and he's still giving back to the Astros. Craig Biggio would have probably said, bury me in the H, but he never used that term. But he was a longtime Astro. Now we have Lance McCullers with all these teammates coming and going. Somebody asked him, are you going to leave us too, Lance? And what do you have to say? Nah, as long as they'll have me, you can bury me in the H. And guys, we are Astros fans, and you can bury us in the H as well. And we'll talk about that and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros. Your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me in the H, baby, at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and Instagram, and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Bury me in the H. Always Stros.
All right, yeah, we are Astros fans for life, and you are Astros fans for life because you make the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Keep on subscribing. We're at 2.8K subscribers. We're almost at 3K. Keep on subscribing, guys. If you listen to the audio, just go ahead and take a second. Just go find us on YouTube and subscribe to us. Give us a big thumbs up as well. And keep on listening to us on your way to work on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Keep on checking out your Locked On Astros podcast. Make us your first listen. So there's definitely a lot to talk about. And I guess we can lead off by kind of what I kind of teased the show with what Lance McCullers kind of came up and said today was a lot of fans were asking him with all the fans, with all the players leaving, most notably Carlos Correa. Him and Carlos Correa were pretty good friends. I know that Maldonado was close to Correa too. Obviously, Jose Altuve was pretty close to him, but McCullers and Correa came up through the minor league system together. They were both top prospects. I believe they're drafted at the same time together. So yeah. The fact that Correa was drafted number one allowed them to draft Lance McCullers. So these guys have a big bond from the very beginning. And so we're going to have some comments on this in a second, but Lance McCullers basically was asked by a fan today. He said, look, Lance, are you going to leave us too? And his quote was basically, look, as long as they would have me, I'm going to stay here. I love this city. You can bury me in the H. And so it's the exact word was, Lance, will you promise never to leave us? And he said, well, I don't have the exact thing, but yeah, basically I summarized it.
No, yeah, you actually nailed it on the head, and phenomenal. And I mean, the upstart, well, I guess they're not upstart anymore. Apollo Houston, you know, who had Carlos Correa and them wearing their H-Town versus everyone shirts, already have a shirt out that says bury me in the H. I mean, they jumped on that. You know, this is something that, you know, came from the heart, because I was sitting there going, this is a genius marketing thing. Wait, no, this is something Lance came up with on the fly. And when we interviewed him before last season, Eric, he has this bulldog mentality. Remember, we were talking to him about, hey, who do you think should get this? Who do you think should be the opening day pitcher? He's like, me. Why wouldn't I say me? I mean, this is a guy who is dying the wool Houston Astros. He signed an extension, and I know a lot of people have thrown a lot of shade on him because of the injuries he's dealt with, but he is very much your ace. He is the identity of the Houston Astros pitching, whether it's starting, closing, bullpen. You think of Lance McCullers before you think of any other pitcher. And for him to come out and say that, Eric, I think is huge, because it would be easy for these players to lick their wounds, to say, oh, we miss Carlos, so it's not the same. You know, it's going to be hard to replace him. No, they've moved on. They are like, they've gotten over it. And you know what? They've got a title to win. They've got a World Series to go back to. They've got an ALCS to go back to. They've got a division to win. And Lance has just got to get back on the mound and be healthy. And even in this state, even knowing that he's not in the starting rotation, Eric, he's coming out saying this. And I think this is comforting for both Houston fans. Might provide a little bit of cover for the front office as well.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely in that situation, it's kind of weird. But Lance McCullers was asked by Mark Berman. He kind of brought out a lot of emotions with Lance McCullers today, and he said, "Well, how do you overcome losing guys like Dallas Keuchel, Garrett Cole, Charlie Morton, George Springer?" And he said, "How will you survive back without Carlos?" And he says, "It's kind of one of those things that you just have to. You have to be able to move on, focus on winning baseball games. We've have done a great job. Uh, we've guys have gotten called up. Guys who've been here have taken it to another level when opportunities have been presented to themselves, and we're looking to do the same thing this year. And we're looking for some of our guys that have been really a big part of our team continue to do so. Looking for those guys compete for MVPs, compete for Cy Youngs, reliever of the years, and keep building on what these guys have helped build, which is an amazing foundation and a winning culture. Those guys are no longer in our clubhouse, but the impact they have made on individuals and teammates, they were. Like Carlos, the leader he was, that hangs around, that rubs off on people. And also, when he was asked about would it be painful to see Carlos Correa in a different uniform compared to the other players, he said, "I don't know. We'll see. It kind of sucks so far when I've seen other guys. I'm sure it'll be worse though with Carlos for sure because like they've been
Yeah.
so tight."
I mean, we even talked about it. We even asked them who would win in an MMA fight, you or Carlos, and he clearly said it would be me because I'm lower to the floor than Carlos. Carlos is tall and he gasses out easier. I'm in better shape, and so they have that. You saw them at the UFC fights. You see them out doing things together. I believe the McCullers are the godparents to Kylo
Right.
Correa, and so I mean, this is where blood is thicker than water, family over everything, any kind of phrase you want to think of. These men are going to continue to be friends off the field. And of course they hate it. It's like Jose Altuve when he was asked, he said, I've played my entire career with him. Like I haven't known any other shortstop other than Carlos Correa as the mainline shortstop. And so there is going to be an adjustment, but you know what? They're professionals. They're not little leaguers. They're not, some like 12U team that's losing their best player to another team across the city. They move on. They will compete just like they've competed in the past. Jose Altuve will take Pena under his wing. Craig Biggio has been mentoring Pena, and you'll mention here in a little bit when we talk about other players, the Astros are very good about in-house talent that has retired and keeping them in to mentor these young guys. So I really think, though, if any team can withstand losing a frontline player like Carlos Correa, it is the Houston Astros.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe that Lance McCullers also said that Carlos Correa texted him late at night and told him, "Hey, I'm going to be signing with the Twins." And McCullers never returned his call because he was asleep. Or so,
Wow.
but then they went ahead and returned messages the next day, and they both talked it out. And I'm sure it was that everybody understands the situation. Carlos had to do what's best for Carlos, what had to do what's best for his family, and what they thought was best for the organization. Whether we still don't know what really happened there, we won't really know until the truth comes out. Like somebody's got to leak it, Ken Rosenthal, or somebody's got to come out and say what really happened. Did the Astros really ghost Carlos Correa? I don't know. I do know that there's a lot of talk out there that the Astros were still having negotiations, but what's not talk is that a certain old veteran is coming back, even though he's a Hall of Famer. He's coming back and helping the younger Astros become a great player, and so a great player. So we'll talk about that in a second. But what's also great is knowing who to bet on, and let's go ahead and take it second and talk about betting.
Yeah, so betonline.net is your leading source for all your betting needs. You need to realize that the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 are upon us. The University of Houston Cougars are there. From the latest odds, contests, to player props, betonline.net is the number one source for all your betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. That's right. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All righty. So if you want up and close personal FaceTime like Brett just had with the Astros prospects of tomorrow, why don't you go check out the Locked On MLB prospects with Lindsey Crosby? He does a great job covering not just the Astros prospects, but all the prospects. He was just talking in a call earlier today that he doesn't even agree with MLB pipelines rankings of their prospects. So you have to go check him out. He knows everything about prospects of today and tomorrow. And speaking of prospects, we got to talk about what Jeff Bagwell is doing. Jeff Bagwell, this was a guy that was kind of staying out of just out of the picture for a while. Then he became a Hall of Famer. Now he wants to. I know he was a hitting for half a season. He was the hitting coach for the Astros,
Right.
but he didn't really want to do the whole lifestyle of going traveling on the road and everything. But during spring, for the past couple springs, he's wanted to give back. He's wanted to work with some of the kids, and that's what he's doing. And what he said about being working with the young kids mostly. I mean, not just them, but I'm sure he's working with Yuli and Jose
Oh, yeah.
Altuve. But he
But,
said,
to him, they are all kids.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because he keeps on using the term kids. So he says it means a lot because Craig and I guess actually this is what Altuve said. It means a lot because Craig and Jeff, they communicate really good with all the players. I ask them questions and they're always willing to help, Altuve said. And this is what Jeff Bagwell had to say. Now I know all the kids and the names. I think they feel comfortable around me now. They can ask questions and talk about the stuff so they understand what they need to do to get to the next level and get better. All the kids. I just enjoy it. So can you imagine Yuli Gurriel being called a kid? Hey, kid, come here. Hey, kid.
Hey, kid, you're almost 40. But, here's the thing, though. We saw him early on, I think one of the first days of spring training, where he was working with Pedro Leon. He was working with, I don't know if he's working with his load or his hand, but you could tell he was instructing him. And so it was just one of those things where Jeff Bagwell had been, he has kind of become Uncle Jeff, like Dalton Ross says here on the show, a viewer tonight. He is one of those guys that he was always introverted, Eric. He was not your, showy, out in front, vocal guy. I believe him and Biggio weren't very vocal in their playing career, but Craig Biggio was a little more in tune with that than Bagwell was. Bagwell was
Right.
always kind of a mystery because his last year or two, even though they had those runs in 04 and 05, he really was not an ultra effective part of those teams because of his shoulder injuries. His shoulder had just been destroyed by the cortisone shots and all that stuff. And so it was like he kind of bowed out of public life for a while. And it's really good to see him back because it seems like every time we see him, every year we see him, he just looks better and better. And when I say that, he just comes across as a guy that is not just retired, but he's enjoying retirement. He's enjoying his life. He enjoys giving back. And I especially love when he's on the broadcast because Jeff Bagwell has insight of a Hall of Famer. And
Right.
not only that, he's got a dry sense of humor. He adds a personality, I
Him and
think, to
Blum are
what.
great. Yeah.
Oh, him and Blum are phenomenal. Callis is your good, like solid TV veteran, right? He comes from a TV family. Blummer is your guy that's played, and then Bagwell brings that personality, and Bagwell will call out players. He will throw shade at the other team. I just absolutely love his moniker. I love the way he carries himself, and he is one of those professionals. He was actually my daughter's first and still her most favorite Astro player of all time. And I remember years ago getting a picture with him with my daughter when we did one of those Nikon take pictures with the team days. So Jeff Bagwell, I've always thought that he was a great player. I know for you growing up, he was your favorite player.
Yeah, he's the reason why I like the Astros, baseball in general. My family was not a big sports family, but just something about Bagwell, the way he swung the bat, just the way he played baseball, just drew me to the sport. I mean, we would go to games, but nobody in my family really knew much about it. But just watching him through the early '90s, I became a baseball fan, and I when I we didn't have cable, so I got a job just to afford cable on my own just to watch the Astros play, and that's how I became an Astros fan. But I know that the Pesky Report wants us to talk about the letter. Guess what? We are going to talk about the letter, but not quite yet. There is something that I do want to address real quick, and it's the fact that Dusty Baker still has not played any of the regulars yet. 3 games, and we have not played any of the regulars. No Jose Altuve's, no Kyle Tucker's, no
That's
Yuli
right.
Gurriel's. There's got to be some type of logic there, right?
Yes, there is. He's actually addressed it.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
we
go ahead.
actually talked about it on in my solo show when you were out enjoying yourself with the King of Country. I actually hit on this, but go ahead. Do you have some quotes from him?
Oh yeah, he just said that that they're taking a gradual approach, and that they want to make sure these players are going deeper into the season. And this is what I haven't done this in a while.
Thoughts by Dusty.
It's been a while since we did that. Just because the schedule says the games start a certain day on your body, it's still day 5 or 6. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have played your position guys this soon. I'm trying to use our fitness guys, the age of our team, and some of our players and my experiences of my past.
And he also said, they basically played into the playoffs. They played into November.
Right.
And so, he's making a case like, hey, these guys need a little bit more rest. And Eric, they've got a ton of young guys up. I mean, they've got a ton of guys that I don't think anybody's ever heard of. So obviously pitchers need to get more work, and so they're in there. But yeah, I think it's kind of fun seeing a bunch of guys that you've never heard of get out there and get hits, slap opposite field singles, score runs, just to get some. Because dude, this is a seasoned group. This is a veteran. We're not a young ball club anymore.
Yeah. So he also went on to say that I was going to start everybody on Tuesday night, but then I saw that they're facing who are they facing? Jacob deGrom. And I'm like, they can't be facing somebody like that. They haven't faced any live pitching.
So wait, hold on. So he's willing to throw the rookies out there. This is funny logic, because if it were me, I would think I want my veterans out there, not my rookies. My rookies are going to get chewed up and spit out.
Yeah, so this is exactly what he said. They haven't faced anybody, and here you are facing the hard-throwing Mets at night, which makes them which makes it doubly tough on them. And potentially, if a ball is buzzing close to them, you're not ready to get out of the way. Too many bad things can happen, I think.
Dusty's acting. Dusty's like, these are my kids. My sons have gone from the minor leagues to the major leagues and little league, and we're gonna make sure that Dusty. So hold on. Does Dusty have them wrapped in bubble wrap while they're on the sideline? Does he like, no running, no sprinting? I'm joking. Like, but I get it. You do. Okay. This is Dusty Baker, Eric. This guy's been doing baseball as long as we've been alive. And I think he knows a thing or two. I think if there was any like concerns, like, coming into camp, Altuve's swing is not right, or someone's mechanics are off, or something's not there, I'm pretty sure they'd be getting reps. But I promise you, they're getting plenty of reps on the backfields. If you watch the videos that McTaggart, that Rome, that these guys put out, I mean, they're working. And so all the mainline guys are getting their reps in.
Right.
They're just not, hey, I don't mind them not facing Jacob deGrom, but I would to me, it would be opposite. Like, I don't want the young guys baptized by fire like that. I want my vets to get out there. But hey, you know what? That's why he's the manager, not me.
Here's the people that should be in the lineup versus Jacob deGrom, though. It should be Kyle Tucker, Nico Goodrum, Chaz McCormick, and Jason Castro. And guess who's going to be on the mound? Your favorite pitcher, your number one guy.
It's Jake Odorizzi versus Jacob deGrom. That's right. He is my
ace
number
versus
one guy.
ace.
That's right. Hey, and Pesky Report says Dusty Baker's social security number is 1. That's funny. That's why I put that up there. That's good humor. I love it. Eric, here's the thing. This year, we're going to see some breakout performances coming from Corpus to Sugarland. We may see some pitchers come out of Sugarland to Minute Maid Park. I don't know a lot of bats are going to come out, but I really think that someone like Taylor Jones is going to be a factor at some point in this lineup. Depending on where Chaz McCormick ends up and, Jake Myers, you could see Pedro Leon make his way up to the majors at some point. So I want to see these young guys, the Alex McKennas, the Jimmy Easterbys, these guys that we've interviewed. Joe Perez has been getting work in. I want these guys getting reps. They need it. They need it. They need it. Because remember, all these guys in the minors, a lot of them had that shortened year where they didn't have much of a year in 2020. So they're still a little bit behind.
Yeah, you definitely need the right parts in your minor league system. And speaking of parts, let's talk about rockauto.com.
So rockauto.com is your place for the parts that you need for your car or truck. That's right. Rockauto.com has been around for 20 years. They are a family-owned business. They have an easily navigable website and the parts that you need. Why would you go to an auto parts store or a dealership to go through the arduous process where they can give you one or two options? They upcharge you because you're not a mechanic, not rockauto.com. Put in your make, your model, the year, and they give you a multitude of parts. Why spend 30, 50, sometimes 100% more on auto parts when you can go to rockauto.com? So go to rockauto.com and search for your make or model, whether it's car, truck, van, whatever you drive, and have it delivered to your house today. I mean, you can't drive your car if it's broken down. You can't drive to the auto parts store, have them deliver it to your doorstep. rockauto.com is a family-owned business, and when you go there and purchase any part that you need, in the how did you hear about us box, right? Locked On, so that they know that we sent you. rockauto.com, reliable low prices, and an amazing website, easily used. All the parts you'll ever need at rockauto.com.
All right. So I believe that's all we have to talk about in the show. Nothing else is breaking news, right?
No, stop.
We
No.
can go and end this stream, right?
No, you're not. I'm not going to let you do that. You must be paid by the Yankees right now, sir.
No.
No.
Let's cut this podcast. Manfred's calling me. Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and yes. Steinbrenner.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Steinbrenner. Yes. Wait, hold on. Oh, Hal Stein. I was like, Steinbrenner. Wait, what is he? Is this the mafia calling us? No. So the news came out. Now, the letter won't technically come out for like 2 weeks, I believe.
Right.
There's like a 2-week waiting time, but the letter has been ordered by United States District Court to be unsealed. And you know what's the funniest thing about this letter is Yankees fans are actually, and now this is on Twitter, they are cheering for the letter to be so damaging that every front office person gets canned and gets fired because they are so upset at their ownership for not spending. I mean, they signed Marwin Gonzalez and not Carlos Correa, so they are upset with the Yankees.
They got the wrong cheating Astro.
They did. They got Marwin Gonzalez, and he shaved his beard. He looks terrible. I'm sorry, Marwin. The beard is gone. The power is gone. What have you done to Marwin?
And he's the one that benefited the most from the cheating scandal.
Right. Now, he'll make $1 million if he makes it to the big league club. So signings by the Yankees, Rougned Odor, Joey Gallo, Marwin Gonzalez. That's a winning ball club, folks.
All right, so the Yankees letter will be a secret no longer. A court has ruled nearly 2 years after a federal judge ruled that letter detailing a 2017 investigation into the Yankees should become public document. The U.S. Second Circuit Court of Appeals have rebuffed the Yankees and Major League Baseball's request to keep the letter private. The Yankees and Rob Manfred and MLB now have 14 days to decide whether to appeal the unsealing of the letter. And they've both the baseball and the Yankees have declined comments. Basically, it's a lawsuit over the daily fantasy implications over electric sign stealing. And we already know about the whole Apple Watch scandal between the Red Sox and the Yankees. And basically, what the Yankees are saying is that they feel like there's something in there that while it's not as bad as what the Astros did was much worse. It still will be damaging to the reputation of the organization if the contents of the letter comes out. And the MLB says, no, this is a storied franchise. You cannot ruin this franchise.
Well, this is also what has been mentioned by Levine, who is the president of the Yankees. He basically said most of what is in this letter is already known by the public. That's what they're
Yeah,
claiming. Okay, well, if that's the
maybe.
case,
I don't
then
know.
you know what? Show the letter. I mean, even if we open the letter and it says "psych," just kidding, or Carlos Beltran really is the one behind it all. I mean, the bottom line is, I think the public has the right to know. Astros fans have the right to know, especially what the Astros players have been through. And I know people are like, oh, you're shouting at the tides. I know Sully tells me that all the time, or the Astros brought it on themselves, yada, yada, yada. We know that. We know they cheated, blah, blah, blah. But what this letter, I hope, shows us is that the league did everything they could to cover up the fact that the Yankees and other clubs were doing some of the same things. It doesn't make, now listen to my words, it doesn't make what the Astros did more right. It doesn't make what they did right. They still, what they did was wrong. It was breaking the rules. But they have been scapegoated. And if you have a pulse and you don't think the Astros are the scapegoat of the Major League Baseball, then you need to stop watching baseball and go watch bowling, go watch curling, whatever it is you want to watch. It is Locked On Astros. Why did you throw me into the single? Are you trying to run from my opinion, Eric? Because let me tell you something. You all need to know that ye who is without sin casts the first stone, number one. Number two, it's about time some other teams get their druthers and start taking it on the chin like we have. You don't have guys on your team getting F Altuve thrown at them. You don't have players' families getting like demoralized when they go to games. Like, get over it. If there's something in there, let's hear it. If there's not, I could care less. 2017, the Astros are still World Series champions. We've still been to 5 straight ALCS. Even though we lose big players, we still do big things. So I just, I just get so tired. Like Yankees fans, the second the tide turned on this, they started acting like, oh, it's no big deal. Of course you do, because you're scared as hell that you don't know that you're going to like what it comes out of this letter. So what do you think, Eric? I mean, do you think it's a whole bunch to do about nothing or what?
I'm not sure. I thought you had a monologue going there, so I was going to give you your front speech. So
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
sorry. That kind
Uh,
of threw me off. You gotta give me a warning before you do that, because I was staring at myself going, wow, that dude's got a massive noggin. It's like
anyway,
Sputnik.
so Andy Martino has written a book about the Astro scandal, and he said the best way to summarize my reporting on the Yankee letter is they could contain references to replay room code breaking, which they and other clubs did in 2015 to 2017-ish era. MLB never found evidence of New York Yankees doing what the Astros did. Electric real time sign stealing, no one on base. Jerk.
So wait, hold on. Was that like a Greenbow, Alabama lawyer, like an Alabama lawyer accent
I don't know. It
that
just came out.
it kind of went from Alabama to Kentucky there? What was,
Whatever.
wow, you would like went in and out of voices. I didn't know what was happening there. It's like an
I'm
outer
just
body
making fun
experience.
of him. Just
And it's all good.
but
It's
he
all good.
said it's not a simple they did not
You don't
they
you
didn't
don't have
tape.
to you don't have to use an accent. You can just read.
I'm just making fun of him. The Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, and the other clubs lived in the gray area pre-2017. But
Imagine
the
that.
Astros offense was unique. Bang, bang. The question will be, what did a team do after Manfred's 9, 15, 17 memo saying sign stealing is bad and it'll be enforced? It's naughty.
So,
The
so the so the pesky report says Greenbow, Alabama.
And this letter is for a time prior to that. So basically, they're saying that it's before the Manfred letter. So whatever.
Well, here's the thing. We all know that sign stealing is a part of the game. Nobody denies that using electronic devices to gain an edge on your competition is wrong. Even when it happened in the 50s, even when it happened in the early 1900s in baseball, it was still wrong. What happened was, I believe baseball had on their hands a problem that was about to get out of hand. That is number one, why they gave the Astros immunity. Number two, why they didn't focus on any other team. Number three, because the Brewers had reported the Dodgers. We actually have film footage of a Dodgers coach wearing an Apple Watch at first, talking to the guy at first base. I mean, you have all kinds of stuff going on. And so at the end of the day, who gives a flying flip? Open the letter, and I really don't care what it says. I just like getting under the skin of Yankees players. What is the breaking news, Eric?
The Astros have signed a minor league pitcher, a left-handed, or not. I guess he's not a minor league pitcher. He's a left-handed arm to a minor league contract.
They've signed two.
I know, but they did one today. I don't know if he covered the other guy, but this is a big time arm. He's going to rescue the Astros season. Are you ready for this? Adam Morgan. He played for the Cubs, and he was a starter at one point, but he is 32 years old. He has he had a 4.26 ERA last year with a 25.9 strikeout rate with 11.1 walk rate, which is not great. 44.8% ground ball rate. And he did pitch out of rotation in 2015 to 2016. But he was able to add some extra velocity to his fastball once he moved to the bullpen. So he pitches in the like 90-ish mile per hour. And so 93.6, I think, between 2017 and 21. And he has a 4.13 ERA through 172 relief innings. He has shut down lefties to a 1.198 batting average, but right-handers do give him a little trouble with a 2.281 batting average. So
Yeah,
that's a little bit
191 to
why.
281.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. The Astros have two left-handers in the bullpen. One, which is on the major league roster, and Blake Taylor, and two, John Bermudez, who would have to make the 26-man roster in order to be a factor in the bullpen. Now, the 40-man roster is full. So for these guys to come in to compete for a spot, somebody's going to have to lose their spot to bring them up. The Astros have hardly any left-handed pitching, and that's what stinks about. That's why a lot of fans have asked for the Astros to go out and get relief pitching left-handers in the offseason, and
Like
they've passed
Zach
up like
Rosscup.
no, not like Zach Roskup, like Andrew Chafin, like guys out there that are legit big league left-handers. I'm not talking about these two guys they signed. They signed them because they said they need them, you know? And so I really hope that at the trade deadline, they pick it up in this area because they are sorely, sorely missing. And hey, good night, Pesky Report. Thanks for watching with us. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to make the right decision. But I made a little connection, Eric, today, and I hope I'm not right. Do you remember the Rays logo used to be Raise Up? It was like Raise Up was their like theme for the year. I think it was a year or two ago. The Astros theme is Level Up. James Click came from the Rays. Are we becoming the Houston Astros? Are we becoming the Astros turning into the Rays slowly? And are we going to start going on the cheap? Like, is this a trend that's going to make us trend downward as a competitor in the American League? I'm starting to kind of connect the dots, and I hope I'm not seeing the writing on the wall that I think I'm seeing. So I don't want to go so cheap on arms that we're trying to be the freaking
Well,
Rays again, you know?
the Rays would not have signed Justin Verlander.
Well, okay, but they also never had Justin Verlander to sign. So yeah,
They
but
had
I'm
Chris
just
Archer.
saying,
Then
yeah, but that's nothing compared to Verlander what he got.
well,
My point is this, okay? It might be a little ridiculous point to make, but I was like, that's eerily similar. Raise up, level up. Come on, man. Like we cannot take on the whole mantra of the Rays. We're
right.
30 something million under the CBT, under the first like
I
tax. Like,
I
let's go
see. Yeah,
spend.
I see where you're going with this, Brett.
Okay.
But I think that James Click was brought in for a reason. A, they needed a GM, and he was one of the top candidates available. And B, I think Jim Crane was like, "Look, I've got all these big contracts here. I need to find a way to get some players with a very little bit of money." And so, what's best way to do it with maybe the Rays philosophy of finding players like what's the pitcher from last year? I can't think of his name with the long hair, the reliever.
Come on.
Um, uh,
You talking about Matan? You talking about
no,
Stanek?
Stanek. Yeah, Ryan Stanek.
Wait, you said the reliever with long hair. He's Stanek, dude. Stanek
Yeah,
causing panic on the mound. Come on.
I forgot his name for a second, but Stanek,
Ryan
like
Stanek.
you got him for a pretty good deal. And then you get those players on the cheap who actually perform for you. So those are Rays types moves, but they're still making Astros moves. We are not having the same type of salary, so it's not fair to really make that comparison. I know where you're going with that. I
No,
mean, yes,
right.
yes,
No.
we're not at the luxury tax threshold yet. We still have that 30, but keep in mind, we don't know what we're going to need at the trade deadline. So you
We need
want to leave
left-handed
that.
relief pitching. We
Okay,
need
well,
left.
we can get that at the trade deadline. Wait for it. Be patient.
Okay. So here's the thing. I'm just like I said. Maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, and maybe you are the voice of reason to talk me away from the ledge. I just really believe that the Astros, if they don't make significant moves mid-season to get left-handed pitching help, it's going to spell disaster in the playoffs.
Yeah,
You have to have those left-handed pitching options.
pitching in general. Yeah, and
So,
if Pena is not the guy, you got to upgrade at shortstop. Whether it's go trade with the Twins for or I'm
God,
just joking.
that would
I'm
be odd,
joking.
wouldn't it? That would be uncomfortable.
Yeah, why don't you trade for Gary Sanchez and Carlos Correa? That would be funny.
Mm,
And why don't you
golly.
bring up Gio Ursula too? Though
Wow.
I'm
Eric's like,
joking.
man, I know. Good Lord. So, well, hey, here's the deal. And we probably need to wrap it up here pretty soon. The Houston Astros are going to have a highly successful year. They're going to do very well with this lineup. And we will here in either this week or next, we'll hit our opening day lineup picks,
Yeah,
our opening day starting rotation.
why don't we do
Who
that
we
tomorrow? Yeah,
who we think. Well, but I think you look at pitching rotation, relief
right.
pitching. On relief pitching, I want to wait a couple weeks because I need to see who's in camp and
I'm
who's really
ready.
getting ready.
I'm ready. It
You
depends on the visa
you
issue,
need a
though.
couple weeks.
It
No,
depends on the
that's what I'm
visa issue.
saying. You
Yeah.
need a couple weeks. So let's hold off on the relief pitching. We can go through our lineups tomorrow night. Eric will share his. I'll share my opening day lineup, and then he can share his 5 starting pitchers, or 6 or 7 or 8, and I'll share my 5.
Alrighty. So, no, I have not seen Yuli's new swing, but we'll talk about that later. But guys, thank you for listening to Locked On Astros podcast, and make sure you go ahead and make us your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, please take a second, help 2 podcasters out, 2 local podcasters. Just help us out, help a buddy out, and just
Bury
subscribe
us
to
in
us.
the H. Bury
Yeah,
us in the H.
we'll be anyway, but also make sure you listen to us on your way home on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check us out and make sure you check out our friend Sully over at the Locked On MLB podcast. I'm sure he's talking all about everything that's going on and talking about how the Astros could not sign Carlos Correa. That was the ultimate mistake by Jim Crane and the ownership. So go check out Sully, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Stros.